If you're reading this right now, I want you to understand something with complete certainty. This moment is not random. It didn't happen because of some glitch in timing or because the internet served you something by accident. This is a response, a real one. Not from a person, but from life itself, answering back to something you've been carrying inside you for a very long time, before you ever put it into words. Before you admitted it to anyone around you or even to yourself, you were already asking. Not out loud, not with language, but through feeling. Deep in the part of you that you guard most carefully, the part you rarely let anyone see, a question was living. You wondered whether what you feel actually means something, whether it still has any real value, any real future, whether the connection you sense is genuine, or whether you've simply been pouring meaning into something that was never really there. Whether you loved too much, hoped too much, imagined too much. That question was heard, even in the moments you dismissed it. Even when you talked yourself into moving on or told yourself you were being foolish for holding on, the question never actually disappeared. It stayed alive in you. And now, in this exact moment, before that quiet persistence finally breaks, before you cross the line from holding on to letting go completely, this is arriving. Not too early, not after it's too late. Right here, in the space between faith and surrender, in the moment where your heart is worn down but hasn't fully closed, this is your answer. Nothing in what you're about to read is here to pressure you or pull you in a direction that doesn't belong to you. It's here to bring you back to steadiness, to remind you that the feelings you've been second-guessing were never as unreliable as you feared, and that the questions you asked in silence were received and are being answered now in their own way and time. You've been quiet for a while. On the outside, you've kept moving, kept functioning, kept presenting a version of yourself that seems settled. You've said you've accepted it. You've told people, maybe even told yourself, that this chapter ended and you've moved on. But something in you never really landed. A question keeps returning when the noise dies down. A feeling that never quite resolved itself, no matter how many times you tried to set it aside. What this connection means, where it leads, whether it still holds a future, these are not things that get answered by forcing a conclusion or by applying logic until something breaks. They unfold through timing, through alignment, through something larger than either of you that moves at its own pace and according to its own understanding, one that reaches further than what you can currently see from where you're standing. And that understanding is reaching you now with a kind of clarity that makes it very hard to keep denying. Let go of the story that you've been exaggerating your feelings. You haven't been. The depth you experience is not a projection. You are not clinging to an illusion or sustaining yourself on something empty. When you love with real weight. And this particular love, this specific bond, is not something you constructed out of wishful thinking. It didn't begin in your imagination. It began somewhere much deeper than that. It is not a passing feeling or an emotional pattern you fell into. It has roots, it has purpose, and it belongs to something real. What you need to hold on to today more than any strategy or plan is this simple truth. You are not meant to walk away from this. You are standing incredibly close to something that has been quietly forming for longer than you realize. Something that has been shaping itself for both of you, in the background, beneath the surface, outside of what either of you can fully observe right now. There is movement happening that you cannot see. Shifts, adjustments, realignments. That feeling you've been carrying, the low hum that something is about to change, that is not wishful thinking. It is accurate. The fact that this story keeps breathing inside you. The way a name stays present without you calling it forward. The way your heart returns to this same place over and over again, not because you're forcing it, but because it keeps finding its way back. That is not obsession. That is not neediness or unhealthy attachment. It is a signal. It is something that can't be manufactured. You can't decide to feel this and then feel it. It exists because it belongs to something intentional, something that time, distance, and silence haven't been able to dissolve, because they were never powerful enough to dissolve it in the first place. So the first movement being asked of you is inward. It starts with this. Stop reading physical distance as evidence that something has died. Distance and loss are not the same thing. The fact that you are not in regular contact, that things have grown quiet or separated, does not tell the full story of what is alive between you. In the realm of genuine connection, space doesn't sever things the way it appears to. The bond between you hasn't weakened. It's still running. Your soul is in constant dialogue with theirs even when your lives are not visibly intersecting. There is a thread between you that neither silence nor separation has managed to cut, and the hollow feeling you carry in their absence is not one-sided. It mirrors what they carry too. Distance is not punishment. It is not proof of failure. It is something destiny uses to create awareness, to foster growth, to bring both people to a place of deeper understanding. This person holds you within them, even when they show nothing, even when they've constructed a wall, or when they come across as indifferent or far away. The truth underneath that surface is something else entirely. Genuine things don't disappear simply because they're being hidden. Don't let go of something that entered your life with that kind of meaning. This love did not arrive to confuse or diminish you. It came from a place that is deeper than ordinary emotion. It came from a spiritual alignment, one that doesn't answer to fear or ego. Very soon you will start noticing signs that their soul is reaching toward yours, even when no direct communication carries it. But to recognize those signs, you have to understand what is quietly unfolding beneath everything visible. This story does not continue through the right moves or the right words. It continues through the certainty you carry on the inside. Stay steady, not from a place of anxious waiting, but from genuine trust. What is truly meant for you does not quietly disappear. What has been connected through something deeper than circumstance does not simply come undone. Pay attention to your inner knowing, that calm, persistent sense that tells you the love is still alive, that quiet voice that keeps reassuring you even when the outer world gives you no confirmation. That is not misleading you. That is the most honest signal available to you. There is someone who genuinely cares for you, someone who thinks about you far more often than they would ever let you see. This is not the final chapter. It is the beginning of truly understanding the story. And now that you're starting to trust your own intuition again, the next step is to move from doubt into awareness. Even in silence, even while apart, you are not alone in this. What you feel so intensely is not deception. It is truth. It was placed inside you for a reason. If your paths crossed, if life brought you together, if a certainty took root inside you that refuses to stop growing no matter how many times you've tried to uproot it, it is because what this connection is for goes beyond anything a logical explanation could fully capture. There are times you probably feel like you're the only one contributing, like you're holding on to something that keeps slipping through your fingers. But that picture is incomplete. You are being guided. The universe does not light this kind of love in someone only to abandon them in it without meaning or direction. When your heart keeps finding its way back to the same place, it is not because something is wrong with you. It is because a bond exists that didn't come from impulse. It came from the soul itself. That feeling is real. What it's pointing toward cannot be undone by time, by silence, or by distance. Be honest with yourself. Why does this story still live in you? Why does their name surface without any effort on your part? Why does this particular connection resist every attempt you've made to break from it cleanly? The answer isn't complicated. It is alive. More alive than you've been letting yourself believe. What belongs to you on an energetic level doesn't simply wander off. What destiny has woven together does not come apart because of a pause, a misunderstanding, or someone's fear. The resistance you feel against fully forgetting, against treating this as finished, that resistance is not a weakness in you. It is confirmation. Your soul knows what matters. There is often a painful gap between what your eyes show you and what your deeper self already understands. What you can see is behavior, distance, silence. A person who appears closed off, removed, or unaffected. But visible behavior almost never tells the whole story. Beneath it, this person carries feelings that are connected to you. Love doesn't always know how to speak. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it protects itself. Sometimes it backs away because it's afraid of its own intensity. They think of you more than you know. Your absence registers with them. Your energy reaches them even without words. When your name comes up unexpectedly, something shifts in them. A memory comes back at the worst times, when they least want it. There is a photo they haven't deleted because deleting it would feel like losing something they're not prepared to lose. There is an emptiness in their daily life they can't quite name or explain. A quiet sense that something important is missing. Even if you've convinced yourself they've fully moved on, they haven't. Not completely. Some feelings don't fade quietly. Some absences keep aching. Some signs keep repeating themselves because they are supposed to. The universe has seen all of it. Nothing has gone unwitnessed. And now think about how this connection shows up in your own experience right now. If they feel your absence, how does it reach you? The first clear sign is what you might call emotional resonance. You notice shifts in your mood that don't belong to your own circumstances, waves of emotion that arrive without an external trigger. This happens because the connection between you is still active. They haven't withdrawn because they stopped caring. They've withdrawn because they don't know how to handle the depth of what they're feeling. Some people love so powerfully that fear becomes their constant shadow. They pull away to find their footing again, to protect themselves from a vulnerability they've never fully known how to sit with. So while everything seems frozen from your side, nothing has actually stopped. Beneath the stillness, something is moving strongly. It's just moving in a place you can't reach directly, and that movement reaches you anyway. It shows up in your body, in your energy, in your emotional state. You might mistake it for general stress or restlessness, but it is the connection speaking to you. It is a reminder that something meaningful is still in motion. When they think of you fully, without the filters they use to keep themselves controlled, their energy moves through something invisible that links you, and it reaches you. It doesn't always arrive as warmth or comfort. More often it comes as a sudden wave of heaviness, a quiet sadness that settles over you with no clear reason. Nothing went wrong that day. Nothing happened to cause it. But something in your chest tightens, and a melancholy you can't explain moves in. What you're feeling in those moments is not entirely yours. It is the weight of their longing reaching you, the echo of their regret and unspoken emotion entering your space quietly but persistently. Another sign is the unexpected return of memory, when your mind is occupied or peaceful, when you have no particular reason to think of them, their face appears. A shared moment replays with a sharpness that stops you mid-thought. For a second, everything else falls away. That is not random. That is not your imagination playing tricks. It is the universe showing you what your intuition has understood for a long time. The bond is still active in them. You are far more present in their inner world than they would ever admit, maybe even to themselves. In those moments, something in their soul is sending something to yours. This bond can also register physically. A sudden warmth across your face or chest, a brief heat that you notice and then dismiss. These things often happen precisely when they are thinking of you with tenderness or deep longing. Their feeling reaches you without a single word being exchanged. On the other side of it, when fear or confusion overwhelms them and they turn inward, you might feel a sudden chill, or that hollow sensation in your stomach, as if something just briefly pulled away. Your energy dips for no visible reason. Nothing around you has changed, but something inside you registers it. There is also the way this connection works through sound and music. A song you once shared plays somewhere unexpected. A melody you've never heard somehow carries their essence and brings them immediately to mind. This is not coincidence. The universe uses sound as a bridge, as a quiet tool to remind you that the connection still breathes and that they feel it too. When someone speaks their name and something moves inside them, that ripple doesn't stay contained. It travels outward and eventually finds you. There are nights they think about you right before sleep, when all the busyness drops away and their defenses go quiet. There are days when a memory of you tightens their chest without warning. Even when they choose to stay silent, even when they perform distance and calm, the truth doesn't vanish because it isn't spoken. If your intuition has been sharper lately, if something in you keeps sensing a shift even on the days you promised yourself you'd finally let go, then listen to that. It is not neediness. It is not you spiraling. It is clarity. It is the universe communicating through the subtlest signals available to it, showing you that this love is still alive, that invisible threads still run between you, and that real feeling moves even without words. What this person feels for you cannot simply be switched off by a decision or an intention. It doesn't obey logic. It doesn't respond to convenience. It is a love that wrestles with itself, that tries to make sense of what doesn't fully make sense, that attempts to resist what it simultaneously finds irresistible. You have left something in them that goes deep enough that they can't fully acknowledge it, not even in private, not even when they're alone. And it is precisely because of that depth that you must not allow yourself to lose hope. You have already felt, in the honest parts of yourself, that what you're experiencing is not fantasy. It is real. It is confirmed by what moves between you beneath everything visible. And yet a natural question arises. Why is this bond so persistent? Why does neither time nor distance seem capable of wearing it down? Because this connection was never accidental. It was not a simple overlap of two lives, not an attraction that was only ever meant to be temporary. This bond exists within a larger design, something that can only be described as a soul agreement. A pact formed at a level that came before the physical meeting, built around growth, awakening, and a shared purpose that neither of you has fully understood yet. When two people are connected through something like that, the energy itself doesn't allow a clean and permanent separation until the purpose of the encounter has been fulfilled. That is why every serious attempt on both sides to fully detach has not worked. That persistence is not weakness, it is proof. What is purely emotional and circumstantial can end. What has been set in place by something deeper than that does not. The love you carry for this person did not come from a decision. It was not formed by logic or chosen by your mind. It comes from something higher. The reason their name lives inside you, despite everything you've done to quiet it, is because your soul recognizes the agreement and will not let you abandon it. It acts as an anchor, keeping you connected to a truth that is deeper than your doubts. When the connection stays alive in you, when the memories keep vibrating even after long stretches of silence, it is the universe affirming that the bond is real. It is destiny asking you to remain patient, telling you that this process is being guided and that it operates on a timeline that doesn't belong to your anxiety or your calendar. Within that plan there is no chaos. There are only purposeful pauses. If there is silence now, it is not an ending. It is a phase of reorganization. Destiny is working inside the other person right now, shaping them, preparing them to come back not as someone still half-formed, but as someone more complete, more certain, more ready for what this connection actually requires. The universe does not want to return someone to you who is only partially ready. It also does not want you to stay stuck in fear and restlessness. That is why the bond stretches without snapping, why it loosens and tightens but never fully breaks. Because it needs to ensure that when you find each other again, it is at the right moment for both of you. What feels like unbearable weight right now is actually the time the other person needs to work through their inner layers and grow into the version of themselves this agreement requires. The silence that confuses you, that sometimes makes you feel like you're being punished or ignored, is not indifference. On the energetic level, it is overload. To understand why they've gone quiet, you have to look at what that silence represents inside them. They are managing an emotional intensity they don't yet have the tools to handle. You have the sensitivity to sense the depth of what exists between you. They are still catching up to it. The power of this connection, the realization that you may be the person they have actually been looking for, created something like a shock inside them. Their silence is not rejection, it is fear, specifically the fear of being fully seen, of being that vulnerable. Like a wounded animal that retreats into a corner to protect itself, they have pulled inward to process things, to try to understand, and to shield themselves from something that feels overwhelming. Their silence is their attempt to regain control over emotions that feel bigger than they know how to manage. They believe that if they create enough distance, if they go quiet enough, the intensity will soften and they'll be able to breathe again. But that belief doesn't hold. The universe shows you that what they're doing is not a sign of absent love. Silence is the sound of their fear. And that fear only exists because what they feel for you is the deepest and most genuine connection they have ever had. They are not afraid of you. They are afraid of how strongly they feel. They fear that surrendering completely would leave them exposed to a level of pain they don't believe they could recover from. So they pull back before the bond grows even more undeniable inside them. Internally, They are caught between two forces. One is the voice of old wounds and self-protection, urging them to keep their distance and stay in control. The other is the soul which recognizes you, calls you by name internally, and longs to close the gap. Silence becomes the place where that battle is fought. So, when you are tempted to read their silence as proof that you no longer matter, stop for a moment. Silence in this situation is not the absence of love. It is the evidence of an inner war. It is a heart trying to survive its own process of healing. It is the universe pressing them to face what needs to be faced before they can meet you in the way you actually deserve. Their quiet is not cruelty. It is pressure. It is fear colliding with something undeniable. Their distance is not cruelty either. It is the result of armor that was built slowly over many years before you ever appeared in their life. Armor constructed to survive pain, disappointment, and betrayal that had nothing to do with you. For a long time, that armor kept them functioning, but now the universe is working to dissolve it, quietly, layer by layer. And that process doesn't feel safe to them. It feels exposed. That armor is the single greatest barrier standing between where they are and where they need to go, even as part of them longs to move forward. The love you carry is steady. It is gentle, and it doesn't come with conditions. And because of that, it acts as a mirror. It shows them who they could be, what they are actually worthy of, what they have been afraid to receive. For someone carrying deep wounds, that kind of clarity is terrifying. When they look at you, they see themselves reflected, their own potential, their own light. And the ego, trying to protect them from pain that no longer exists but still echoes in their emotional memory, reacts immediately. It builds distance. It manufactures reasons to stay back. The fear they carry is not about what you might do. It is about what has already been done to them by others long before you. They are afraid that something this powerful could end the same way other things ended, in loss, in abandonment, in heartbreak. That fear is old. That is why the universe places them in a period of genuine inner transformation. A phase that is darker and lonelier, where they can no longer outrun themselves, where they are required to sit with their fears, their patterns, and the wounds they haven't finished healing. This period of isolation and silence, as painful as it is to witness from your side, is necessary. It strips away their escape routes. Distractions stop doing what they used to do. Old habits of avoidance lose their effect. They are left with themselves. That darkness is not punishment. It is a purification. A slow, uncomfortable release of everything that no longer serves who they are being asked to become. When they return, it will not come from desperation or from fear of being alone. It will come from genuine wholeness. You are both a comfort and a challenge to them. You are the place they want to rest and the thing that forces them to grow. Their ego keeps resisting. Their soul keeps knowing. The love that moves from you toward them is too real to ignore indefinitely. Destiny keeps placing it in front of them, showing them again and again that no wall they build, no amount of control they exert, holds against a connection that exists for a purpose. And this brings everything to a single important point. The universe has already shown you that reunion is part of what is meant to happen. But how quickly it unfolds depends on the quality of your trust. Doubt doesn't just slow things emotionally. It changes your energy. Impatience, fear, the quiet belief that you are not worthy of what you're hoping for, all of it sends a signal that you are not yet ready to receive what belongs to you. But when you settle into certainty, something in you shifts. You stop chasing and begin attracting. You stop sending out the energy of someone who is desperate and start carrying the energy of someone who knows. Your words have weight because words shape the energy around you. When you speak from a place of belief rather than anxiety, you bring yourself into alignment with what is already moving toward you. When you say, from a genuine place of trust, that your soul is at peace with how this is unfolding, you are not performing a ritual. You are making an actual internal shift. Doubt loosens its hold. Faith opens what fear had been keeping closed. From this point forward, your role is not passive waiting. It is conscious release. Real attraction doesn't come from chasing. When you pursue from a place of lack, you push things further away. When you trust, when you genuinely believe that what belongs to you will find its way to you, you become someone it can actually reach.